guys, welcome back, and we are back at it again. Today, portfolio analysis. Are you invested in Western Copper and Gold Corp? Okay, their stock symbol is WRN, and this is our first but not our last portfolio analysis. All right. Remember, AC Metals Holding, this blog is dedicated to the study of aluminum and copper with respect to the market, manufacturing, and production. We talk about stocks, we talk about prices, we talk about how these metals have a bright future. Let's get straight into this, guys. Listen, if you guys are not aware of WRN, okay, Wine, Richard, Nancy, okay, that is the stock symbol. If you guys are not aware, let's go ahead and learn a few things. So essentially what is hanging on the balance here is their casino project. I found this handy dandy little picture off their website, okay, and the casino project is projected to have basically 8.9 million ounces of reserve of gold and 4.5 billion pounds reserves of copper. Okay, one of the largest projects in North America. It has a size that can help feed a global copper supply for decades. All right, so let's get straight into the stock, guys. So essentially what we did here, okay, here's that information if you guys want to go ahead and look at that. Okay, so the headquarters, we are essentially out in Canada. Okay, the market cap is 218 million. Okay, and essentially what they are is an exploration stage company. Okay, and like I mentioned before, it's known as their casino project. So basically you don't have to go to the casino to gamble in this case, but we're not gambling. We want to go ahead and take historical data to go ahead and project the future to see how this stock will essentially how well it can do or how bad it can do. So let's actually get into that. Okay, so here we see some significant historical events. Okay, guys, so check this out. We're starting with March 2007, and the reason why we started March 2007 was because that was one of their highs. Okay, and it was right before the whole mortgage crisis that happened in 2008. So before the mortgage crisis, right, in March 2007, the stock was sitting basically at $2.27. Okay, December 28, when the whole mortgage crisis happened, it dropped, guys, to basically 16 cents. It lost about 98% of its value. Okay, so the mortgage crisis really went ahead and it just knocked it down tremendously. Okay, I put some of the prices of the other commodities because they essentially rhyme, and you're gonna see that as we go through that down this little the historical events of this stock. Okay, but check this out. It had a massive rebound. Okay, so December 2008, it went from what is it, 16 cents to $4.49. And this, guys, right here, February 2011, I call this the perfect storm, guys. The perfect storm. Listen, I don't know if we're ever going to get another one of these perfect storms like we did in February 2011, but let me explain to you why this was the perfect storm. Okay, the reason why this was the perfect storm was, one, okay, this was a Canadian-based company, and they essentially went from the Canadian stock exchange market to the United States, the New York Stock Exchange market. Okay, so that is a huge, massive bump, right? So in terms of marketing and in terms of awareness, okay, it literally, it was already on a global scale, but it positioned itself on a higher tier. Okay, it positioned itself on a higher tier level. At the same time, okay, gold went up, okay, about $600. Oil went ahead, more than doubled. Silver went ahead, more than doubled. And copper just about tripled. Okay, so copper prices shot up, oil prices shot up, gold prices shot up, silver prices shot up, and it gets itself on the New York Stock Exchange market. That was the highest it's ever been in terms of its historical data. $4, okay, and 49 cents. So Can we get another perfect storm, guys? I don't know. I mean, those are five massive variables that I don't know if we can go ahead and replicate again in the future. All right, but let's continue. February 2016, for those of you guys who know, essentially there was an economic crash of 2016. I believe China's economy in the first quarter was hit pretty hard. Okay, so it took essentially 5 years. It had a little roller coaster ride, but it basically took it 5 years to essentially hit zero point 0.2 low. Okay, so 29 cents per stock in February 2016. Let's take a look at the prices, right? So gold went down, oil went down, silver went down, and copper basically got about cut in half. Okay. So you guys can tell that 2016 was, and mind you guys, we're looking at averages here, okay, with respect to the actual months and years. So 2016 was not a good year, okay, in terms of February, because as we go down, right, same year, different month, it jumped from 29 cents to $1.77. Okay, so the economic crash, the low of February 2016 was a good time to go ahead and invest, in my perspective, right? I'm not a financial advisor. I said that before, and I'll say it again. This is for entertainment and educational purposes, okay? But just looking at the data, right, you would have definitely wanted to invest in February 2016 when it was at basically 30 cents, because it didn't even take a year and it jumped back to $1.77. Okay, mind you, this was the Trump presidency. Okay, we're not going to play politics, but I would mention that when Trump was president, essentially the market did become it was optimistic, and it was leaning towards bullish. Okay, so $1.77 was one of its another one of its highs in the roller coaster that it's had. And it came crashing down in March 2020, okay, with the coronavirus essentially epidemic, okay, when everyone was kind of panicking and everything was just going down, okay, we saw the stock drop to 32 cents, okay. Mind you, gold actually went up, okay, oil essentially plummeted, if you remember, and silver went down as well. Everything essentially took a hit. But notice here, okay, copper, in terms of its prices, it only dropped 40 cents. Okay, so that's an interesting thing to go ahead and keep in mind, right? Let's go ahead and continue. So essentially, as of this year, as of up to date, as of the making of this video, right, we see that the stock is basically sitting around $1.55. Okay, basically everything since March 2020, everything kind of recovered. If it hasn't already recovered, right, if you heard the news, you guys heard about it essentially hitting its all-time highs. It's kind of easy to hit an all-time high when you're coming from an all-time low, but they were talking about how essentially in the stock market it was essentially doing better than before the actual pandemic. How does that happen? I don't know. Don't ask me, right? That's something we have to go ahead and look into a little further, right? But the reason why we are looking and we are interested in copper, guys, is like as we mentioned before, okay, it has held its value on a historical level, okay. Not compared, we can't compare that to silver or gold, because that essentially done better than copper, and we're just being completely honest. But as I mentioned before, we are optimistic in copper because of the three reasons we mentioned before. So if you guys haven't checked out the blog, right, I recommend you guys do. And those three reasons, remember, reason number one was essentially the historic value of copper and the data that we've seen. Reason number 2 was the technological revolution. And reason number 3, copper is finite. But regardless, we're talking about Western Copper stock here. And let's go ahead. So we mentioned essentially this here, you can go ahead and feel free to read. But we basically summed it all up just looking at the pictures there. And in conclusion, guys, okay, how do we look at this stock? Okay. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to have another perfect storm like we did in 2011. I gave you guys the reasons why we had that perfect storm in 2011. Okay, remember, the stock went into the New York Stock Exchange. Gold was up, oil was up, silver was up, copper damn near tripled. Okay. But here we go. Here's the focal point. Okay. And I'm just going to read this to you. This is not financial advice, just looking historically at this particular stock. On average, a good price to buy would be between 0.324, so about anywhere between 30 cents to about 50 cents. Okay, and sell between $2.20 and $2.70. Can we see another $4.50 on or even higher? Okay, a lot of that depends on the casino project, guys. Okay, and the prices of commodities. Okay, but I think that's highly unlikely, guys. Highly unlikely. The facts stated above in the perfect storm, as I mentioned, I don't know. I mean, unless we can get this stock here on the Universal Stock Exchange market, I don't know if we're going to have another 26-fold times your money. But you know what? I mean, I'm just looking at this in terms of averages, and anywhere between, and just looking at this, right? This is let me build my case even further. Just looking at this, right? We had the $3, we had the 30 cents to 50 cents. Just looking back at the historical value, okay, because we like the numbers, right? Looking back, March 2020, boom, it was a low, right? Coronavirus epidemic. Okay, month later, not a month later, a year later, boom, back to $1.50. Okay, going back, February 2016, another economic crash, right? Not in the same year, right? Boom, back to $1.77. You guys are starting to see the pattern, right? So, and looking at this, right? It was at $2.27, right? Was what I recommended that with the historical data would be a good time to sell, right? Boom, about a year later, right? December 28, a little bit more than a year, back to 16 cents, okay? 3 years later, $4.49. Okay, I would have sold before, right? Think about it like this. Okay, when it comes to stocks, it's kind of like a party. You don't want to be the first one in, and you don't want to be the last one out. Okay? You don't want to be the first one in, and you don't want to be the last one out. Okay? So with that being said, guys, right, if you guys have any questions, if you guys have any comments, if you guys want to go ahead and look into something further with respect to this stock or any other the copper mining stocks, go ahead and put that down on the comments, okay? And we'll get to it when we'll get to it. But we're going to go ahead and continue, right, looking at these essentially these types of stocks when it comes to the mining stocks and whatnot. If there's a particular mining stock that you're interested in, or if there's a particular stock with regards to it being metals that you want to know, go ahead, put that down in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys on the next one.